Hello, welcome to Sleep with Stories. Tonight, I invite you to settle in, slow your breath, and step with me into a world where time drips like rain from the eaves, where every sound and scent becomes part of a gentle symphony meant to carry you toward rest. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, don't forget to like this story and subscribe, so you'll always have a place to return when the day asks too much of you. The rain whispered its steady rhythm against the roof of the wandering hearth, a sound I knew better than any clock. Inside, the solar-powered lantern cast a warm, soft glow, illuminating the delicate condensation blooming on the windowpane. Joe watched, mesmerized, as tiny rivulets twisted and turned, creating miniature rivers across the glass. Each fragile line seemed to hold the quiet, unhurried passage of time. Beside me, my heirloom enamel mug sat cooling, the chamomile still carrying its faint, honeyed breath into the room. My weather-beaten journal waited open on the table, its pages ready to welcome the slow spill of thoughts. Outside, the wind stirred the pine boughs that cradled this cabin. The evergreen cloister and their sigh joined the patter of rain in a harmony older than memory. Here, there was no rush, no urgent voice calling from the world beyond these trees. Just the profound peace of being still, of noticing the way the evening folded itself around every small detail, the faint hum of the solar panels, the soft groan of wood in the fire's warmth, the muted indigo of twilight pressed against the glass eye. Joe Meadowlark had long since traded the endless pursuit of more for the deeper, steadier joy of enough. The act of writing was my anchor, each word a way to map not just the outer world, but the shifting landscapes within. Tonight's entry would begin with the rain, always the rain. Its constancy soothed the mind like a hand resting gently on a shoulder, reminding me that even in life's restless currents, there are rhythms we can trust. Somewhere beyond these walls, I imagined Juniper Hawthorne, the quiet soul I had met on a narrow forest path months ago. Perhaps she, too, was listening to the same rainfall from her own small dwelling, letting its silver threads weave her into the night. She was a woman who understood the language of silence, who knew the weight and worth of stillness. And so, dear listener, this is where our story begins, not with clamor or urgency, but with a slow unfolding, the kind that asks you to lean in, to notice, to breathe. Let the rain guide you. Let the glow of the lantern and the rhythm of these words draw you deeper into this sanctuary. Tonight, you are not in a hurry. Tonight, the world can wait. Each delicate line, a testament to the quiet, unhurried passage of time. My heirloom enamel mug, still warm with chamomile, rested forgotten beside my weather-beaten journal. There was no rush here, just the profound peace of observing a world. Slowing down, one droplet at a time, it was enough. The silence that followed was not empty, but rich, layered with the subtle orchestration of the night. Beyond the soft drumming of the rain, I could discern the rustle of leaves in the near distance, a deeper sigh from the pine boughs that cradled the wandering hearth, and the almost imperceptible hum of the solar panels diligently gathering what little light the overcast sky offered. My gaze drifted from the mesmerizing dance of moisture on the glass, a momentary diversion from the page, to the weathered cover of my journal. It lay open, a silent invitation, its spine softened by countless hours of quiet reflection. My hand, instinctively, reached for the ceramic mug, feeling the residual warmth, a small, tangible anchor in the gentle drift of the evening. The chamomile, infused with the subtle hint of honey added earlier, sent a delicate steam curling upward, a fleeting wisp against the soft, diffused light of the lantern. There was a profound satisfaction in this simplicity, a deliberate peeling back of the unnecessary layers that often clutter modern existence. I, Joe Meadowlark, 42 years old, had long ago shed the relentless pursuit of more, choosing instead the profound contentment found in less. My posture, often slightly curved, seemed to mirror the gentle arc of my days, unhurried, contemplative, and focused inward. My hazel eyes, usually alight with a quiet curiosity, now held a placid stillness, reflecting the calm that permeated the small space. My clothing, comfortable layers of worn flannel and soft cotton, felt like a second skin, a uniform for a life lived close to the earth and its rhythms. The act of writing, for me, was not about crafting grand narratives or dissecting complex events. It was a slow, methodical transcription of observations, a careful mapping of the internal landscape as it responded to the external world. Tonight, the entry would undoubtedly begin with the rain, its ceaseless presence a balm to the often overwhelmed mind. I dipped the pen into the small inkwell, its familiar weight a comfort, and began to form the first neat letters on the cream-colored page. The scratch of the nib was a whisper, another voice in the symphony of the night, joining the rain and the wind. I wrote of the way the air had cooled just before dusk, carrying with it the scent of wet earth and distant pine resin. I noted the particular hue of the twilight, a muted grey that bled into an almost luminous indigo before darkness fully claimed the sky. My thoughts turned to the individual drops of rain, each a perfect sphere, momentarily clinging to the broad leaves of the ferns outside before succumbing to gravity and joining the shimmering streamlets on the ground. There was a quiet heroism in their descent, a relentless journey from cloud to earth, each contributing to the larger, unseen tapestry of life. It was a reminder that even the smallest, most unassuming elements played a crucial role in the grand design, a truth I found endlessly comforting. My pen moved slowly, deliberately, charting the subtle shifts in the wind, the almost imperceptible changes in the sound of the rain as it transitioned from a steady pour to a lighter, more ethereal drizzle. I recalled an old saying. I had once read something about listening to the rain to hear the heartbeat of the world. It resonated deeply with me. Here, in the heart of the evergreen cloister, nestled deep within an ancient evergreen forest, that heartbeat felt palpable, primal, and profoundly reassuring. The towering pine trees, silent sentinels, formed a natural enclosure, a cathedral of wood and shadow where the very air seemed to hum with ancient wisdom. It was a place I sought out when the world felt too loud, a sanctuary where time seemed to slow to a mere crawl, and the whispers of the wind carried forgotten truths. The gentle patter of rain against the canopy of needles was a perpetual lullaby, washing away the clamor of external demands, leaving only the quiet echo of my own thoughts. A flicker of light caught my eye, a brief, almost imperceptible shift in the ambient glow within the wandering hearth. I looked up, my pen hovering over the page. It was the solar-powered lantern, its soft light unwavering. Yet its subtle pulsation seemed to synchronize with my own breathing, a silent testament to the gentle efficiency of the systems that sustained my quiet life. It was a constant companion, its warm glow a steady beacon against the encroaching darkness, illuminating not just the small space, but also the corners of my mind. My thoughts then drifted to Juniper Hawthorne, 45 years old, whose wiry frame and piercing grey eyes seemed to miss nothing. Her presence was always quiet, but grounding, like a steadfast anchor in the often turbulent seas of existence. She possessed an understated wisdom, a profound connection to the natural rhythms of the world that mirrored my own. Yet her empathy, while deep, never demanded engagement. She understood the language of silence, a rare gift in a world so intent on filling every void with noise. We had met by chance, months ago, when Idi first sought out the profound solitude of the evergreen cloister, our paths crossing on a barely discernible trail near the old growth. Our interactions were never verbose, often just a shared glance, a knowing nod, or a few carefully chosen words that held more meaning than a lengthy conversation. She, too, seemed to exist on the fringes of the conventional world, finding her peace in the quiet observation of nature's grand unfolding. I wondered if she, too, was listening to the rain tonight, perhaps from her own small, unassuming dwelling tucked deeper within the forest's embrace. There was a quiet comfort in the thought, a sense of shared understanding that transcended words. The simple ritual of the evening continued its gentle unfolding. I closed the journal, placing the pen carefully atop its closed pages, a silent promise to return to its quiet embrace tomorrow. My gaze moved around the interior of the wandering hearth, a space meticulously organized, yet imbued with the warmth of a life truly lived. Natural wood tones softened the edges of the caravan, reflecting the lantern light in a muted glow. Soft, comforting textiles, a hand-knitted blanket draped over the small sofa, a woven rug underfoot invited repose. Each object had a story, a memory woven into its very fiber. The small, smooth riverstone ID, picked up from a meandering stream, the dried sprig of lavender hanging near the window, its subtle fragrance a gentle reminder of warmer days. This mobile home was more than just a shelter. It was a sanctuary, a curated collection of quiet moments and cherished simple things, a deliberate counterpoint to the rush and clamor of the outside world. I reached for the enamel mug again, its warmth now dissipated, the chamomile long since cooled. The taste, even cold, was familiar, a ghost of comfort. I considered brewing another cup, but decided against it. The evening had already given me its gifts, a surfeit of quietude and introspection. Sometimes, the beauty lay not in the continuous replenishment, but in the appreciation of what had already been offered, allowing its essence to linger without demanding more. My attention was drawn once more to the window, the condensation having settled into more stable, intricate patterns. The light from the lantern played upon them, creating shifting shadows and highlights. It was like looking at a miniature, abstract landscape, a world contained within the glass. I found myself tracing the faint outlines with my finger, a slow, almost unconscious act of engagement. Each line, each delicate curve, seemed to tell a story of invisible forces, of temperature differentials and the silent ballet of water molecules. It was a reminder of the intricate beauty that existed in the mundane, in the overlooked corners of existence. Many might pass by such a sight without a second thought, but for me, it was a profound focal point, a meditative anchor that pulled me deeper into the present moment. It was a small, quiet rebellion against the clamor of the outside world, a refusal to be hurried, to be distracted from the profound lessons held within the stillness. I shifted slightly on the small, cushioned bench that served as my primary seating, allowing my posture to uncoil a little. The familiar, slightly curved posture I often held relaxed, aligning with the unhurried pace of the evening. The gentle rocking of the caravan, imperceptible to an unfamiliar eye, but a constant, subtle motion to me, contributed to the sense of being cradled by the natural world. It was a rhythm that spoke of journey, not necessarily across great distances, but across the vast landscapes of internal thought and feeling. The rain continued its soft, steady patter, an unwavering presence. Its sound a constant companion that layered the silence rather than breaking it. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the sound wash over me, feeling it seep into the very marrow of my bones. In that moment, there was no past, no future, only the profound embrace of the present. The scent of damp earth and evergreen needles seemed to intensify, drawn in by the gentle breath of the night air that seeped through the tiny vents. It was an aroma that spoke of deep roots, of resilience, of life perpetually renewing itself. My mind wandered, as it often did, to the small, subtle shifts in the natural world that most people never noticed. The way a spiderweb, almost invisible in the daytime, shimmered like spun silver in the first light of dawn after a night's rain. The precise moment a particular species of bird began its morning song, distinct from all others. The subtle changes in the texture of the forest floor with each passing season. These were the true adventures, the genuine explorations, for they required not outward travel, but inward attentiveness. A quiet patience that allowed the world to reveal its hidden wonders. There was a profound peace in this deliberate lack of urgency. It was a quiet rebellion against the relentless pace of modern life, the incessant demand for productivity, for noise, for constant engagement. Here, in the wandering hearth, in the heart of the evergreen cloister, I found my purpose not in doing, but in being, in simply observing, in letting my thoughts drift like autumn leaves on a placid pond, without agenda or expectation. There were no demands, no deadlines, only the gentle cadence of the rain and the slow unfurling of quiet contemplation. My life here was a testament to the idea that true richness lay not in accumulation, but in appreciation. Every sunrise, every sunset, every passing cloud, every droplet of rain was a gift, a moment to be savored. The weathered beaten journal on the table was more than just a collection of words. It was a chronicle of these small, profound discoveries. A repository for the moments when the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary seemed too thin. It was a way of holding onto the fleeting beauty of stillness, of preserving the wisdom gleaned from unhurried observation. I imagined the world outside the wandering hearth, the highways bustling with hurried travelers, the cities humming with artificial light and constant chatter. It felt distant, almost unreal, a different dimension entirely. Here, the only clock was the sun, the moon, and the unwavering rhythm of the elements. The only demands were those of the gentle cycle of nature. And in that, I found an immense freedom, a liberation from the tyranny of time and expectation. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the caravan. It wasn't the wind, nor the rain. It was the gentle settling of the earth beneath its wheels, a reminder that even in stillness, there was subtle movement, a constant, imperceptible dance of existence. It was a comforting thought, this quiet dialogue between the fixed and the fluid, the stable and the transient. I reached out and touched the cool glass of the window pane, feeling the faint dampness of the condensation on my fingertips. It was a tangible connection to the world outside, a reminder of the barrier that separated my warm, enclosed sanctuary from the cool, rain-swept night. Yet, it wasn't a barrier that excluded, but one that filtered, allowing the essence of the outside world to seep in, purified and softened. The last embers of the day's light, trapped by the heavy clouds, seemed to finally surrender, and the darkness deepened outside. The lantern's glow, once merely an accent, now became the dominant source of light within the caravan, its warmth an almost physical presence. I felt a profound sense of calm settle over me, a peace that resonated deep within my bones. It was the kind of peace that came from being utterly present, from aligning oneself with the quiet, persistent pulse of the earth. There was a subtle shift in the air, a breath of cooler air, indicating a slight change in the wind direction, perhaps carrying the scent of a new cluster of wildflowers blooming deeper in the forest, unseen. It was a whisper of the world beyond the immediate, a subtle hint of new, quiet discoveries awaiting the dawn. If this quiet moment resonated with you, please consider liking this story and subscribing for more. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the caravan. It wasn't the wind, nor the rain. It was the gentle settling of the earth beneath its wheels, a reminder that even in stillness there was subtle movement, a constant, imperceptible dance of existence. It was a comforting thought, this quiet dialogue between the fixed and the fluid, the stable and the transient. My little home, the wandering hearth, despite its name, was rooted for now, but its very design whispered of journeys taken and journeys yet to come, a paradoxical blend of rootedness and freedom that suited my spirit. I reached out and touched the cool glass of the window pane, feeling the faint dampness of the condensation on my fingertips. It was a tangible connection to the world outside, a reminder of the barrier that separated my warm, enclosed sanctuary from the cool, rain-swept night. Yet, it wasn't a barrier that excluded, but one that filtered, allowing the essence of the outside world to seep in, purified and softened. The world beyond was a muted tapestry tonight, sounds softened, colors absorbed by the pervasive gray, a visual and auditory bomb for an overstimulated mind. The last embers of the day's light, trapped by the heavy clouds, seemed to finally surrender, and the darkness deepened outside. The lantern's glow, once merely an accent, now became the dominant source of light within the caravan, its warmth an almost physical presence. I felt a profound sense of calm settle over me, a peace that resonated deep within my bones. It was the kind of peace that came from being utterly present, from aligning oneself with the quiet, persistent pulse of the earth. There was a subtle shift in the air, a breath of cooler air, indicating a slight change in the wind direction, perhaps carrying the scent of a new cluster of wildflowers blooming deeper in the forest, unseen. It was a whisper of the world beyond the immediate, a subtle hint of new, quiet discoveries awaiting the dawn. But tonight was for stillness, for the quiet embrace of the known and the comfortably familiar. My gaze drifted back to the condensation patterns on the window. They had evolved again, becoming more defined. Each tendril of moisture, a miniature river flowing across a microscopic landscape. It was a fluid art, constantly rearranging itself, reminding me of the impermanence of all things, yet also the constant, unwavering presence of change itself. I could spend hours simply observing this phenomenon, finding new shapes, new stories in the water's delicate dance. It was a form of active meditation, requiring gentle focus without demanding analytical thought, a rare and cherished state of being. The rain continued its relentless, gentle drumming. Sometimes it would pick up a brief, passionate crescendo, only to soften again to a steady lullaby. Each variation was noted, appreciated, absorbed. It was the background music to my existence, a symphony composed of nature's most fundamental elements. I found myself thinking about the countless journeys those raindrops had made, from ocean to cloud, from cloud to forest floor, each a tiny pilgrim on an epic voyage. And here I was, simply bearing witness to a fraction of that grand cycle, a humble observer in the vastness of time. The interior of the wandering hearth felt particularly sacred tonight. Every object, from the well-worn cushion on the bench to the small, hand-carved wooden bird perched on a shelf, held a story, a memory, a connection to a moment of quiet joy or profound reflection. There was no clutter, no extraneous item. Everything served a purpose, either practical or soulful. The natural wood tones of the walls and ceilings seemed to absorb and diffuse the lantern light, creating a soft amber glow that wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. The air, though carrying the faint scent of damp earth, was clean and crisp inside, a blend of wood smoke from a tiny, rarely used stove, and the lingering fragrance of the lavender sprig near the window. My fingers, almost unconsciously, brushed against the smooth, cool surface of my heirloom enamel mug. It had been with me for years, through countless quiet mornings and introspective evenings. Its chipped rim and faded pattern were not imperfections, but marks of its history, badges of honor earned through faithful service. Each sip of chamomile from it, each warming of my hands around its ceramic body, was a small ritual, a moment of intentional presence. It grounded me, connected me to the simple, foundational acts of life. The fact that it was now cool, the chamomile, long drunk, felt right. There was no need to re-engage with that particular comfort tonight. Its memory lingered, which was enough. The thought of Juniper returned, a soft echo in the quiet space. I imagined her, perhaps in her own secluded dwelling, also listening to the rain. Her connection to the forest was even deeper than mine, a profound intimacy with the land that manifested in a quiet resilience. She was a woman of few words. Her presence communicated more through her actions and the gentle strength that emanated from her than any spoken language. I remembered once, early in my time here in Evergreen Cloister, finding a small, injured fledgling near my caravan. I had been at a loss, unsure how to help. Juniper, appearing silently from the trees, had simply extended her hand, taken the tiny bird, and with movements both precise and tender, had fashioned a makeshift nest from some moss and leaves. She had then placed it gently in a sheltered spot, saying only, "Nature finds a way, Joe. Sometimes we just offer a little space." That simple act, her quiet confidence in the natural world's processes, had left a deep impression. She embodied the wisdom of the forest itself, patient, observant, and profoundly interconnected. The thought of her, a fellow quiet soul navigating the rhythms of this ancient place, brought a subtle warmth to the deepening night. It was comforting to know that such understanding existed, even if rarely expressed aloud. The journal lay on the small, foldable table, its weather-beaten cover a familiar sight. It was a silent companion, a repository for thoughts that felt too ephemeral to hold only in memory, too precious not to record. The fine script that filled its pages was a testament to countless hours spent in quiet observation, of translating the whispers of the wind and the patterns of the rain into words. It wasn't a diary of events, but a map of my internal landscape, charting the subtle shifts in perspective, the small epiphanies found in the mundane. It was where I processed the beauty of a dew-kissed spiderweb, or the intricate design of a fallen leaf. It was a tangible anchor to my commitment to a deliberate, unhurried existence. Tonight, it would remain closed, its stories waiting for another dawn, another moment of focused reflection. The act of writing had served its purpose for the evening, a gentle distillation of the day's quiet moments. The very air within the wandering hearth seemed to grow heavier, imbued with the stillness of the night. It was a comfortable weight, not oppressive, but deeply grounding. The sound of my own breathing became more pronounced, a slow, steady rhythm that synced with the persistent patter of the rain. Each inhalation brought the faint scent of pine and damp earth, each exhalation a release, a surrender to the deepening quiet. I felt my shoulders relax further, the slight tension that always seemed to linger from the mere fact of existence in the world melting away like ice in warm water. My posture, often slightly curved in contemplation, now seemed to uncoil, fully stretching out into the available space, mirroring the expansive stillness within. I imagined the towering pine trees of the evergreen cloister outside, their branches swaying gently, their needles catching and releasing the rain in a perpetual cascade. They were ancient beings, silent witnesses to centuries of seasons, their roots reaching deep into the earth, holding fast against all storms. There was a profound lesson in their steadfastness, in their quiet endurance. They didn't strive or rush, they simply were, standing tall, providing shelter and solace. The cloister was truly a cathedral, not of stone and stained glass, but of living wood and filtered light, where the only hymns were sung by the wind and the rain. It was a place where one could truly feel the heartbeat of the world, not as a metaphor, but as a palpable vibration through the very ground. My mind drifted to the concept of time and how it seemed to behave differently here. In the outside world, time was a relentless current, always rushing, pulling one along, demanding speed and efficiency. Here, in the heart of the forest, time felt more like a placid pond, its surface occasionally rippled by a falling raindrop, but largely still, reflecting the sky above. Days were not measured by clocks, but by the arc of the sun, the shifting light, the changing sounds of the forest. Tasks were completed when they felt right, not when a deadline demanded. It was a deliberate choice, this slow living, a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of urgency. And in this deliberate slowness, I found a richness, a depth of experience that the hurried world could never offer. Each moment was savored, not rushed through. Each observation was lingered upon, not quickly dismissed. The solar-powered lantern continued its soft, unwavering glow. It was a marvel of quiet efficiency, drawing its energy from the very light of the sun, then releasing it gently into the darkness. It symbolized much of what I valued: sustainability, simplicity, and a quiet independence. It was a constant reminder that my life here was intentionally crafted, sustained by respectful interaction with the natural world, rather than consumption and extraction. Its gentle hum, almost imperceptible unless I focused, was another thread in the symphony of the night, a reassuring presence. The feeling of profound calm deepened, settling over me like a warm, heavy blanket. It was a holistic peace, encompassing body, mind, and spirit. My eyes, which had been fixed on the condensation patterns, now softened, unfocusing, taking in the entire cozy tableau of the wandering hearth. The soft textiles, the warm wood, the gentle glow of the lantern, the subtle shadows dancing in the corners. It all contributed to an enveloping sense of security and well-being. This mobile home was not just a place to sleep. It was a living embodiment of my philosophy, a sanctuary against the clamor of the outside world, a carefully curated space for quiet contemplation and deliberate being. I felt a subtle shift in my own internal rhythms, a gentle winding down. The thoughts, which had been drifting like autumn leaves, now began to settle, coalescing into a quiet hum of contentment. There was no need to analyze, no need to understand, only to experience. The beauty truly was in the stillness, in the unhurried moments, and in the simple act of being. This was the profound peace I sought and found, night after night, in the quiet embrace of the evergreen cloister. My eyelids grew heavy, a natural response to the deep tranquility that permeated the caravan. The rain continued its steady, soothing cadence, a final lullaby for the night. I imagined the world outside, vast and full of its own hurried dramas, but here, within the comforting walls of the wandering hearth, only peace remained. The distant sigh of the wind through the pines was a whispered benediction, and the last of my thoughts gently dissolved into the soft, embracing darkness. The profound sense of calm had settled, ready for slumber. The subtle undulation of the caravan floor beneath me was a sensation deeply ingrained, a gentle, almost imperceptible breath of the earth itself, as if the wandering hearth were a living entity, inhaling and exhaling with the ancient forest. It was not a swaying, indicative of movement, but rather a profound, foundational settling, a constant, minute negotiation with the underlying soil. Its subtle shifts, softened by layers of pine needles and damp loam accumulated over seasons. This minute, almost silent dialogue between my crafted structure and the boundless planet was a profound, often overlooked comfort, a constant reminder that even in the deepest repose, life pulsed with an understated, yet undeniable, vibrancy. My home, though mobile by its very design and inherent potential, was deeply rooted in this singular moment. Its very timbers and carefully joined planks absorbing the silent narratives of the ancient wood that surrounded us, a testament to countless journeys already gracefully completed, and perhaps countless more journeys yet to unfurl on the horizon, a delicate, almost poetic balance of present rootedness and future potential that perfectly mirrored the quieter, deeper currents of my own evolving spirit. The walls, paneled in reclaimed cedar, seemed to hum with the stored sunlight of forgotten summers, radiating a gentle, dry warmth that contrasted subtly with the cool, damp air outside. Each nail, each joint, felt like a deliberate choice, a conscious act of construction that imbued the space with a sense of protective intent. My hand, resting idly on the cool surface of the window pane, registered the faint, almost oily sheen of moisture, a tender, shimmering veil drawn between the curated warmth of my sanctuary and the cool, enveloping embrace of the nocturnal world. It was more than a mere barrier. It was a tangible threshold, a transparent membrane that artfully transformed the potential tumult of the world beyond into a hushed, softened echo, a gentle murmur of existence. The rain's relentless rhythm, usually a cacophony in other contexts, filtered through this pane, its visual intensity mellowed to a shimmering blur, its sharp edges diffused into a soft, inviting haze, a gentle, pervasive balm for senses often overwhelmed and frayed by the relentless clamor of external demands. The twilight outside, a bruised palette of deep, velvety grays and indigos, deepened further with each passing minute, gradually dissolving into a rich, almost tactile obscurity that seemed to absorb all extraneous sound, leaving only the soft, persistent cadence of the falling water. I could trace the slow, deliberate descent of a single droplet down the glass, watching its form distort and then reform as it merged with others. A fleeting, transient masterpiece of fluid dynamics. This act, simple as it was, held a meditative quality, allowing my mind to quiet its incessant chatter and simply be with the moment. Within the wandering hearth, the solar-powered lantern's golden emanations, which had begun as a mere suggestion of light in the fading day, now reigned supreme, its steady, unwavering glow casting elongated, fluid shadows that danced a slow, mesmerizing waltz across the textured wooden walls. This intimate luminescence was far more than just illumination. It was a palpable warmth, a soft, ethereal embrace that seemed to settle deep within the very core of my being, a profound, unshakable peace that resonated with the quiet, persistent pulse of the earth itself. It was the tranquility found in utter, unvarnished presence, in the conscious, deliberate alignment with the slow, persistent heartbeat of the planet, a deep, resonant harmony that spoke volumes without a single uttered word. The lantern, a testament to thoughtful engineering, cast a light that was utterly devoid of the harsh, cold sterility of modern electric bulbs. It felt ancient, almost despite its solar panels, as if it drew its power from some deeper, older source of light. Its soft hum was a whisper against the rain, a gentle reassurance of human ingenuity in harmony with natural cycles. A subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the air currents within the caravan hinted at a gentle redistribution of the forest's very breath. Perhaps a new gust sighing through a previously sheltered copse of ancient spruce trees, carrying the fresh, clean scent of damp bark and the faint, elusive, sweet perfume of unseen, nocturnal blossoms nestled deep amongst the forest's undergrowth. It was a delicate suggestion of the vast, intricate, and perpetually unfolding world that stretched far beyond my immediate haven. A quiet, whispered promise of new, unhurried revelations awaiting the first blush of dawn. Yet, this particular night was dedicated to the profound stillness, to the tender, all-encompassing embrace of the intimately familiar and the comfortably quietly known. The wind outside, even through the dense forest, had its own song, a deeper, resonant bass line beneath the drumming rain. It spoke of vast, open spaces, of mountain passes and distant shores. But here, it was muffled, tamed, a gentle lullaby for a soul-seeking refuge. My gaze returned, almost magnetically, to the evolving tapestry of condensation on the window pane. The delicate rivulets of moisture, having begun as random streaks, had now sculpted themselves into intricate, crystalline patterns each minute. Tendril, a miniature tributary meandering across a microscopic landscape, a silent, ephemeral cartography of liquid grace. It was a transient masterpiece, perpetually reforming and reshaping itself. Its ephemeral nature, a gentle yet profound testament to the ceaseless, beautiful flow of existence, yet also a steadfast affirmation of the constant, unwavering presence of flux itself, the only true constant. I could easily lose myself for hours in this silent, undemanding contemplation, discovering new geometries in the shifting forms, tracing unforeseen narratives within the water's delicate, ceaseless ballet. It was a form of meditative engagement that required a gentle, unwavering focus, yet demanded no analytical processing, no intellectual struggle. A rare and deeply cherished state of pure, unadulterated being. Sometimes, a tiny dust mote, caught in the moisture, would slowly drift, creating a temporary island in the shifting currents. A fleeting reminder of the minute details that made up the grand tapestry of life. The rain continued its ceaseless, soft percussion upon the roof of the wandering hearth. At times, its tempo would subtly quicken, a fleeting, almost impassioned drum roll that reverberated gently through the ceiling, only to recede once more into its steady, rhythmic lullaby, a whisper of 1,000 tiny feet dancing on the tin. Each nuanced alteration in its intensity, each subtle shift in its pitch, was observed, acknowledged, and absorbed into the very fabric of the night. It was the fundamental, unending soundtrack to my quiet existence, a symphony composed not of man-made instruments, but of nature's most elemental forces, water, air, and the simple geometry of my shelter. I found my thoughts drifting, as if on the currents of the wind, to the immense, cyclical journeys undertaken by each tiny droplet that now graced my roof, from the vast, shimmering surface of the distant ocean, lifted by invisible currents into the boundless expanse of the sky, then coalescing into clouds before their long, deliberate descent to the waiting forest floor. Each was a minuscule voyager on an epic, ancient odyssey, a testament to geological time and cosmic scales. And here I was, a humble witness to but a fleeting fraction of this grand, ceaseless cycle, a solitary observer adrift in the boundless, indifferent ocean of time, yet feeling deeply connected to its ebb and flow. The cumulative sound of all these drops, though individually small, created a pervasive, almost physical presence, a soft pressure against the silence. The inner sanctum of the wandering hearth felt particularly resonant and alive this evening. Every carefully chosen object, from the deeply indebted cushion on the reading bench, its fabric softened and smoothed by countless hours of quiet repose and thoughtful rumination, to the small, intricately carved wooden swallow perched with delicate balance on a slender, polished shelf, held a quiet resonance, a whispered narrative, a tangible link to countless moments of serene contentment or profound, often unexpected, introspection. There was an intentional absence of superfluity. No item without its inherent purpose, be it utilitarian necessity or a deeply soulful connection. Everything had its place, a space carved out for it through deliberate choice. The rich, natural, wood grains of the walls and ceiling, sourced from sustainable forests, seemed to possess an innate, almost magical ability to absorb and then gently diffuse the lantern's light, creating an enveloping, warm, amber luminescence that wrapped around me like a meticulously woven, infinitely comforting shroud. The air within, though carrying the subtle, earthy perfume of damp soil and ancient moss from the forest's embrace, was remarkably clean and crisp. A delicate fusion of the faint, lingering aroma of pine smoke from the tiny, rarely kindled wood stove, a contingency for colder nights, and the persistent, calming fragrance of the dried lavender sprig nestled near the main window, its quiet perfume a constant reminder of summer fields. This space was not merely built, it was carefully, lovingly curated. My fingers, almost unconsciously, instinctively, grazed the cool, smooth ceramic of my heirloom enamel mug. It had been my steadfast companion for countless years, witnessing an untold number of tranquil dawns where the mist still clung to the pines, and introspective dusks painted with the last vestiges of daylight. Its rim gently chipped in places from innumerable gentle knocks against surfaces, and its once vibrant, now softly faded pattern of a distant mountain range were not flaws but cherished emblems of its long, faithful history, badges of honor, earned through loyal, unyielding service. Each careful sip of chamomile from it, each moment spent cupping my hands around its comforting warmth, was a small, personal ritual, an act of conscious presence that tethered me to the simple, profound foundations of daily life. The fact that it now rested cool, the chamomile long since savored and consumed, its gentle warmth, a distant memory, felt entirely appropriate. There was no impulse to rekindle that particular comfort this night. Its lingering memory, like a faint, pleasant aftertaste, was a sufficient presence, a quiet warmth that persisted in the deepening stillness. It represented a continuum, a thread stretching back through time, connecting me to all the past Joeys who had found solace in its simple form. The subtle, almost ethereal presence of Juniper, like a soft, persistent echo, re-entered the quiet chambers of my thoughts. I pictured her, perhaps within her own secluded haven, her dwelling nestled even deeper within the forest's embrace, a dwelling I imagined to be even more seamlessly integrated with the natural world than my own, also attuned to the steady, unyielding rhythm of the falling rain. Her connection to the forest was something altogether more profound than my own, a deep, almost instinctual intimacy with the very pulse of the land that manifested in a quiet, unwavering resilience, a strength drawn directly from the ancient trees. She was a woman of sparse words. Her essence communicated more eloquently through her deliberate, considered actions and the gentle, almost primal strength that emanated from her, rather than any spoken tongue or overt declaration. I recalled an occasion early in my time here within the evergreen cloister, when I had discovered a small, trembling fledgling bird, barely alive, near the base of my caravan, its delicate wings shivering with cold and fear. I had been gripped by a helpless uncertainty, my usual contemplative nature giving way to a frantic desire to aid, yet unsure how best to offer it. Juniper, emerging silently from the ancient trees, her steps light as a falling leaf, had simply extended a hand, her movements unhurried and profoundly gentle, taking the tiny creature into her palm, with a precise yet tender artistry, as if she were mending a broken twig. She had then fashioned a rudimentary nest from soft, springy moss and fallen, perfectly shaped leaves, placing the fledgling with utmost care into a sheltered recess within a low-hanging branch. Her only words, delivered with a quiet knowing, had been, "Nature finds a way, Joe. Sometimes we just offer a little space for it to unfold." That deceptively simple act, her unwavering faith in the inherent wisdom of the natural world's intricate self-correcting processes, had left an indelible impression upon my spirit, shaping my own approach to observation and patience. She truly embodied the quiet, enduring sagacity of the forest itself, patient beyond measure, acutely observant of the smallest details, and profoundly, inextricably interconnected with all living things. The very thought of her, a kindred, quiet spirit navigating the ancient, unchanging rhythms of this timeless place, infused the deepening night with a subtle, pervasive warmth, a sense of shared understanding. It was a profound solace to recognize that such deep, intuitive understanding existed, a wisdom rarely articulated in the clamor of human language, yet powerfully felt. Her presence, even in thought, was a grounding force, a silent reminder of the deep, enduring peace that could be found in truly listening to the world. The weather-beaten journal lay undisturbed upon the small, foldable table, its familiar, aged cover darkened by countless hours of handling and exposure to faint damp, a comforting sight. It served as a silent confidant, a steadfast repository, for thoughts that felt too fleeting to merely reside within the confines of memory, too precious not to be meticulously inscribed, transforming vaporous ideas into tangible lines. The fine, careful script that filled its numerous, slightly yellowed pages was a living testament to countless hours spent in quiet contemplation, of patiently transcribing the almost imperceptible whispers of the wind as it sifted through the pines, the subtle, intricate symphony of the rain as it varied its tempo, and the intricate dance of light and shadow as they played across the forest floor into coherent, often poetic words. It was not a chronological account of daily events, for my days here seldom contained events in the conventional sense, but rather a deeply personal cartography of my internal landscapes, charting the minute, often profound shifts in perspective, the small, luminous epiphanies discovered within the seemingly mundane. It was the quiet, intimate space where I wrestled with the ethereal beauty of a duke-kissed spiderweb, its delicate geometry glistening in the first light, or contemplated the exquisite, complex design of a single fallen maple leaf, each vein a roadmap of its brief life. It was a tangible anchor binding me to my deliberate commitment to a life lived unhurriedly, with profound intention and a deep appreciation for the unfolding present. Tonight, it would remain closed, its many stories, patiently awaiting another dawn, another moment of serene, focused reflection. The quiet, almost sacred act of writing, of committing ephemeral thought to lasting ink, had fulfilled its purpose for the waning evening, a gentle distillation of the day's subtle, quiet moments, a silent communion with the deeper, often surprising, currents of my own being. It was a process of discovery, a way of seeing the invisible threads that connected one thought to the next, one observation to a broader understanding. The very atmosphere within the wandering hearth seemed to grow heavier, imbued with the deep, pervasive stillness of the night. A stillness so profound it felt almost tangible. It was a comfortable weight, not oppressive or stifling, but profoundly grounding, settling my spirit into an even deeper tranquility. The sound of my own breathing became more pronounced, a slow, deliberate rhythm that found perfect, unwavering harmony with the persistent, soothing patter of the rain outside, each breath a counterpoint to the natural world. Each gentle inhalation drew in the faint, clean scent of damp pine needles and rich, moist earth, a scent that carried the very essence of the forest within it, while each slow exhalation was a conscious release, a tender surrender to the deepening quiet that enveloped me, a letting go of any residual tension. I felt my shoulders relax further, the lingering, subtle tension that often seemed to cling to the mere fact of existence in the broader, more demanding world melting away like morning mist under the nascent sun, dissolving into nothingness. My posture, habitually a slight, contemplative curve born from hours of reading and reflection, now seemed to uncoil fully, stretching out into the available space, a physical mirroring of the expansive, unburdened stillness that bloomed and expanded within my own being. My muscles loosened, my jaw unclenched, and a profound sense of ease permeated my entire form. I envisioned the magnificent, towering pine trees of the evergreen cloister just beyond my walls, their ancient branches swaying with an almost imperceptible grace, a slow, majestic dance in the wind, their countless needles catching and then releasing the falling rain in a perpetual, shimmering cascade that caught what little light lingered. They were venerable beings, silent sentinels that had borne witness to untold centuries of changing seasons, their gnarled roots reaching deep into the very bedrock of the earth, holding fast with an unwavering tenacity against the most tempestuous of storms, drawing strength from the depths. There was a profound, unspoken lesson embedded within their steadfastness, in their quiet, unwavering endurance that asked nothing in return. They did not strive, nor did they rush. They simply were, standing tall, offering boundless shelter and profound solace to all who found themselves within their ancient embrace. The cloister was indeed a cathedral, not one painstakingly constructed from cold stone and radiant stained glass by human hands, but a living, breathing sanctuary forged from ancient wood and filtered light, where the only hymns sung were the timeless melodies composed by the gentle wind and the ceaseless, rhythmic song of the rain. It was a sacred space where one could truly perceive the deep, resonant heartbeat of the world, not as a mere metaphor or an abstract concept, but as a palpable vibration coursing through the very ground beneath one's feet, a tangible connection to the planet's life force. The air here, though heavy with moisture, felt charged with ancient wisdom, a quiet reverence that settled into the bones. My thoughts drifted to the elusive, often tyrannical concept of time itself, and how its very nature seemed to undergo a curious, almost magical transformation within these secluded, timeless woods. In the hurried, clamorous world beyond the forest's embrace, time was an unrelenting torrent, always rushing forward, ceaselessly pulling one along, demanding a relentless pace and an unyielding, almost dehumanizing efficiency. Here, nestled deep within the verdant heart of the forest, time felt more akin to a placid, expansive pond, its serene surface occasionally disturbed by the delicate ripple of a single falling raindrop, sending concentric circles outwards, but largely motionless, perfectly reflecting the vast, indifferent sky above. Days were not rigidly measured by the ticking hands of a mechanical clock, a construct of human invention, but by the majestic arc of the sun across the verdant canopy, the subtle, shifting nuances of the forest light as it filtered through the leaves, and the ever-changing organic symphony of natural sounds, the chirping of crickets, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves. Tasks were gently commenced and completed only when their completion felt inherently, instinctively right, not when an external deadline dictated their urgency. This deliberate slowness was a conscious, unwavering choice, a quiet yet profound rebellion against the pervasive tyranny of urgency that gripped the modern world, a quiet refusal to be swept away by its demands. And within this intentional unhurriedness, I discovered a richness, a depth of sensory experience and internal contemplation that the hurried world, with all its distractions, could never possibly offer. Each passing moment was meticulously savored, never rushed through with careless haste. Each nuanced observation, no matter how small, was lingered upon, absorbed, and pondered, never quickly dismissed with a fleeting glance. Time here was not a commodity to be spent, but a boundless ocean to swim in, slowly, deliberately. The solar-powered lantern continued its soft, unwavering emanations, a steadfast beacon of quiet resilience in the deepening gloom. It was a testament to subtle ingenuity, drawing its very essence from the generous, life-giving light of the sun, then meticulously transforming that energy and releasing it gently, steadily, into the enveloping darkness of the night. It stood as a silent yet powerful symbol for much of what I held most dear: self-sufficiency, elegant simplicity, and a profound, quiet independence from the grids and demands of the larger world. It served as a constant, gentle reminder that my life here was not merely lived by default, but meticulously and intentionally crafted, sustained by a respectful, harmonious interaction with the natural world, rather than by a ceaseless cycle of consumption and extraction. Its faint, almost imperceptible hum, a quiet mechanical whisper, audible only when I specifically tuned my awareness to it, was another delicate thread woven into the intricate, nocturnal symphony, a reassuring, constant presence in the tranquil expanse of the night. It was a humble contraption, yet it felt like a miracle of modern minimalism, a perfect blend of technology and nature's rhythms. The sensation of profound calm deepened, settling over me like a meticulously weighted, exceptionally warm blanket, designed specifically to induce a state of perfect, dreamless repose. It was a holistic peace, permeating every fiber of my being, body, mind, and the very essence of my spirit, touching even the deepest, most hidden corners. My eyes, which had been gently tracing the intricate, ephemeral patterns of condensation, now softened, their focus blurring, allowing me to encompass the entire, cozy tableau of the wandering hearth in a single, loving, encompassing gaze. The plush, comforting textiles draped over the bench, the rich, warm wood tones of the interior, the gentle, enveloping glow of the lantern, the subtle, dancing shadows that played in the secluded corners. Every single element contributed to an overwhelming sense of security, profound well-being, and an almost sacred belonging. A feeling that this was precisely where I was meant to be. This mobile home was far more than a mere shelter. It was a living, breathing embodiment of my deeply held philosophy, a steadfast sanctuary against the pervasive clamor and relentless demands of the external world, a meticulously curated space for the profound solace of quiet contemplation and deliberate, intentional being. Each object within it seemed to resonate with my presence, a silent chorus of contentment. I felt a subtle, undeniable shift within my own internal rhythms, a gentle, natural winding down, like a carefully wound clock easing into its final ticks. The thoughts, which had been gracefully drifting like buoyant autumn leaves upon a placid pond, occasionally eddying and swirling, now began to settle, coalescing into a quiet, harmonious hum of profound contentment, a peaceful resolution. There was no longer any need to dissect, to analyze, no lingering urge to intellectually comprehend the complex mysteries of existence, only the pure, unadulterated experience of simply being, utterly present in the moment. The intrinsic beauty truly resided in the deep, unyielding stillness, in the unhurried, patient passage of moments, and in the simple, profound act of conscious, deliberate existence. This was the enduring peace I tirelessly sought, and invariably found, night after quiet night, nestled within the tender, embracing heart of the evergreen cloister, a peace that seeped into my very soul. My eyelids, heavy with the welcome weight of burgeoning sleep, slowly descended, a natural, welcome response to the profound tranquility that saturated every particle of the caravan's air, a palpable balm. The rain, a tireless, ancient composer, continued its steady, soothing cadence, weaving a final, ethereal lullaby for the approaching slumber, each drop a note in a timeless symphony. I could faintly imagine the sprawling world beyond, vast and brimming with its own hurried narratives and tumultuous dramas, but here, cocooned within the comforting, silent walls of the wandering hearth, only an infinite peace remained, an undisturbed oasis. The distant, almost imperceptible sigh of the wind as it whispered through the ancient pines was a soft, murmured benediction, a gentle farewell to the waking world, and the last vestiges of my conscious thoughts gently dissolved into the soft, embracing darkness, a willing surrender to the quietude. The profound sense of calm had now fully settled, a perfect, gentle prelude for the deep, restorative slumber that awaited, drawing me into its silent, welcoming embrace. If you found peace in this quiet journey, please consider liking this story and subscribing for more tranquil narratives.